Hello, everyone. We are live here and gonna give it a few moments for people to join. And I'm navigating on my computer, nice. both the Zoom and the Facebook, so I can see when you log in, if you want to say hello in the comments, and of course, if you have any questions that are going to come up during the class, then you can write it in the comments and I can read them out loud. And so for now, as people are joining in for this class, Health Simplified, Time to Claim Your Power and Freedom, and we're going to talk and share some really important information and wisdom. And I would love to introduce my guest here today, a dear friend and an incredible woman and an incredible educator. And you're going to see more of her. I would love that for sure. Patty Lager. Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, great. Patricia or Patty? Which one do you prefer?
I've gone by Patty since I was young, so Patty is fine.
So Patty is fine. Okay, great. So I want to give a little background on how I even know Patty, and it's quite fresh in terms of our connection. Both Patty and I are detoxification specialists by the International School of Detoxification, Dr. Morse. And we are in the same network of practitioners and healers. And I had heard about Patty. I've known about Patty as an educator, and I will let her to tell her story more in depth. But Patty has a background in medical school, and she's brilliant when it comes to anatomy and the anatomy of the body. And so she teach classes for Dr. Morris and the School of Detoxification. And so I just got to know her through that channel. And another mutual friend, another brilliant healer, shared one of her videos with me just a few weeks ago as I was coming out of my water fast and transitioning back and just building myself back up in my body. And I think I had a question, something about the adrenals and the kidneys. That's what it was, Patty. And he shared a video that you did talking about the kidneys and the adrenals, again, more from a medical perspective and breaking it down. And then I went to Patty's YouTube channel and I saw it was one of her recent videos that she did. And she was just talking about being an anarch and so many things that resonated with me in terms of not following blindly what we are being fed with. And that just clicked with me because I've always been a rebel. I've always been an anarch, if you want to call it that. And I'm going to let Patty talk more about that. But I felt this resonance, and I sent Patty an email, and I just expressed how I felt and how much I resonate with her and how much I appreciate and admire her path and her journey of walking away from the medical establishment because she saw it for what it was and she didn't buy into it. And she said no, and she walked away, and she discovered a whole new path. And that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of confidence in oneself and having faith. And I admire those qualities in people. And so I contacted Patty and I asked her if we could connect just one-on-one. And we had an initial Zoom just a couple of weeks ago, and we just talked and I said, oh my God, we could have just recorded this one. It was so amazing. There's so much wisdom, and I really feel it in my heart. There's so much of this feminine wisdom in whatever area we might be seeing it these days, but the feminine wisdom is rising and rising and rising up. And I feel that actually in the health department, we've seen so many male teachers, and I see the value in more of us women. And it doesn't matter, wisdom comes through a channel, if it's a male or a female, yet there's something to be said about us women carrying so much wisdom that it's not just the wisdom of the mind and everything that we learn and study, but it's this innate intuitive wisdom that we have as women. And Dr. Morris always talks about just the females being the healing principle of this world. So that's there's just a little bit about how I connected with Patty and why I felt inspired to do this with her and to do this, to have this class and to share it with all of you beautiful people, because Patty has so much wisdom and so much knowledge and so much experience working with people. And again, one of the things that she really brings to the table is that she has walked and still walking both worlds. So she has seen what goes on behind closed doors. She is still part of that system, and she's very courageous in just the way she is choosing to share this information and go about it and speak truth. So that's what I'm all about. This group is called True Health because it's all about truth. So today we are going to be sharing, of course, some things about health and how to make it simple for yourself, and debunk maybe some things and help you get closer to your optimal state, which is health and vitality. This is our birthright. And within that conversation, we'll see where it goes, but definitely both Patty and I are passionate about truth and freedom and empowering people, especially right now, because we are being distracted and fed by I'll just say it, so many lies, that it's crucial and essential for each and every one of us to have our eyes open and to claim our health and sovereignty back. And health has a big part of it. Because when you're rooted in truth and in health, then fear just doesn't have any way in. And disease and viruses don't have any way in either. So they really go hand in hand. So without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to let Patty introduce herself and in her own voice to share with you her journey and what made you, Patty, to become a detoxification specialist and an educator, and what is the driving force for you?
Well, thank you for that introduction. And yeah, for me, it was quite a journey. When I was young, I was the good girl, and I wanted to be, I wanted to make my parents happy, and my mom wanted me to be a physician. So that's where this path began, on to medical school. And, that was my plan in high school. I actually started wanting to be a veterinarian, but when I found out that veterinarians had to put animals to sleep, I was like, no, I cannot do that. So then I switched to humans. And I didn't think doctors would ever have to put humans to sleep. They just do it more slowly. Anyway, we'll come back to high school and then college. I was a pre-medical student. Then I went right straight into medical school. And, when I was in medical school, I guess it was my second or third year doing clinical rotations. And I just kind of got this feeling that something's not right. I knew that, growing up that, if I ate my fruits and vegetables and I got a good night's sleep, I'd be healthy, but there was no talk of that. And, I just wanted something a little bit more closer to nature. And while that time in my life, I was also feeling very drawn to more holistic ways of living. So it was in 1998 when I was in medical school that I came across this book by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He's a medical doctor. And right now I think he's really into plant-based nutrition. But at that time in the late 90s, he was using water fasting to heal people. And I read his book, Fasting and Eating for Health. I think that's the name, or maybe it's Eating and Fasting for Health. And after reading that book, I was just really inspired to reach out to him. And I thought, I want to do an internship with him. So I flew to New Jersey, where he was living and where he had his water fasting clinic. And I think there was a chiropractor that was at his clinic that was also interning and learning how to do that practice. And it was just the two of us, and we were there with several fasting clients. And I actually became so inspired by the fasting clients that I actually did my own water fast. I did about 26 days of water fasting while I was up there. And I just saw miraculous healing take place. I mean, there was one man, he was being denied by his insurance company for his fourth heart bypass surgery. So they said, no more. We've already replaced your coronary arteries 3 other times with this invasive surgery where we cut open your chest and, take out a vein from your leg and replace it with the coronary artery that's occluded. They just decided not to do it anymore. So this man had nowhere to turn. He reached out to Dr. Furman and just through water fasting, and that's it, removing everything else, only letting nature come in, and the clot the occlusion went away and his blood vessel opened up. And not only that, not only did his heart heal, but everything else. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, how can I use anything else other than nature to heal when it's so obvious? And then, going back and learning pharmacology and seeing the drugs, I just became disgusted and all. Like, this is so stupid. We really don't need any of this. All of the money being wasted on these therapies that are only suppressing symptoms. They're not really getting to the core of the issue. So I decided to leave. My parents were really upset, but I had always loved music, so I wanted to be a rock star. So I left medical school. I joined a band, did that for a while. But I decided, okay, I need to have something where I'm earning a living because, my parents wanted me to do something other than just play gigs all of the time. So then I got into education and I started teaching part-time. And I decided, you know what, I think I want to go further with my graduate education. And I got a master's degree in biochemistry. And then after that, I started a PhD program in immunology. And that was another eye-opening experience. So the PhD program in immunology, I really loved learning about the immune system, which is part of the lymphatic system. So this will come back later as I get into my Dr. Morse story. But, the immune system is just such a fascinating system, and all of the major players that are involved. So while I was doing research for the PhD program, I again became quite disheartened because all of the labs where I could do my thesis work were all killing animals. And, getting my master's degree, I didn't really have to kill any animals, but for a PhD, was it really worth it? And it really brought me to tears every single time. And just seeing how these animals were treated, that I remember the day when I decided to leave, I just, holding this little mouse in my hand, and they had to squeeze his chest, open his mouth up so we could insert with a huge, wide gauge syringe, this bacterial organism to create like a Crohn's disease inflammatory response in his intestinal tract, because we needed to study how, inflammation in the gut can, mimic that of Crohn's disease in humans, so we can come up with a drug. It was all about pharmaceuticals, not about healing, not about really understanding how our immune system works. It was just so we can come up with drugs that could suppress something. And I was just, again, I can't do it. So I left. And this time, instead of leaving to become a rock star, I left to volunteer at the Humane Society because I felt like I had to balance my karma a little bit. And thus began my 50 dogs of fostering. One of those dogs back there is one of my foster fails because you sometimes can't give them back. But anyway, those two experiences, being in medical school and being in scientific research, I kind of saw firsthand just the corruption. And there's no nature, there's no truth in either of these industries. So, holding that knowledge with me and kind of moving on, and I ended up getting a job as an educator at a community college. Because without a PhD or an MD behind my name, I can't do much. But at community college, I was able to teach anatomy and physiology, and it was nice. I have a small class size, usually 30 students or so. And for the past 20 plus years, I've just been teaching them how the human body works. And I've always held, though, very close nature as my driving force with regards to how to keep the body healthy. So in my teachings with my students, I always kind of bring them back to that focus that we really don't need much to bring into the body to keep us healthy. Really, if you understand how body works and you know how to keep it running that way, that's all that's really needed. And after teaching for a while, I decided to kind of come back to my roots of natural hygiene, because I learned a lot about natural hygiene when I was working with Dr. Furman at the water fasting clinic. With natural hygiene, I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, it's just basically living according to nature. So, healthy diet with lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, getting adequate sunlight, proper relationships, a stress-free environment, as much as stress-free as possible. I mean, a little bit of stress is good, but not the chronic stress that promotes inflammation. And that's when I came across Dr. Morse. And I remember hearing him talk about the lymphatic system and its connection to the kidneys. And I at first thought, wait a minute, this is not how I teach about the lymphatic system. And I called him up because partly I wanted a consultation because I thought he was a really cool guy and he seemed like he was a good healer. So I wanted to talk with him about my own health, just kind of how to optimize it really. But then we ended up talking the entire hour about anatomy and physiology. And this man is just amazing. I mean, how he just intuitively connects things, because the way he explains it makes sense. And the way allopathy explains it really doesn't make sense. And then at the same time, how allopathy does anything doesn't make sense. Suppressing and cutting and removing, that's not health. Health is something that we don't have to come about by adding things. It just comes from releasing, really, and letting go. That's health, because the body innately knows exactly what to do. So, after teaching for so many years, and now that we're kind of in this experience of this lockdown that, for some people it is waking them up and for others it's really crushing them, I feel like I have to do something different, because, doing the same thing over and over and over again is not really going to help me help others. So I'm, launching my own website and YouTube channel and connecting with like-minded souls like yourself, and hoping to bring more information and truth to the world, because this message is, in my opinion, more important now than ever, because humanity needs to rise up. So that's a little bit of my story.
Yes, 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 yes. I love it. I love it. I love it, Patty. And exactly, you called it in, because you said, okay, I'm ready to step out with this more and to share and put my website, like all the things, and boom, then here I pop in your field, because we attract what it is, that the signal that we put out there. And I'm on the other side of that. I'm sitting here and I've been walking this path for so many years. Yeah. And I've been saying, I'm calling my soul brothers and sisters and the like-minded people and the healers, in which we can come together and create something that the world has been needing for so long. But I believe everything is in perfect timing for whatever reason. And so the catalyst that we are seeing this year of change, so many structures are going to crumble. And one of them, at least as long as I'm here, one of the systems that must crumble is the healthcare, quote in quotation, system. And I talked with you about that, and the necessity of us creating a new healthcare system that is actually based on health and understanding of what health is. And again, that's one of the purposes and the reasons for this class and other things that we'll be doing together, is to educate people, and for people to know what true health is, and just how simple it is. And I see Simone here that is on the broadcast. She said that I used to be an ICU nurse. I felt exactly the same way when you were speaking, Patty. We don't treat the underlying problem. Exactly. And she also said that she did her first 3-day fast this year, and she felt amazing.
Awesome.
Yes, good for you, Simone. And we Patty and I will dive a little bit deeper into fasting and maybe we'll do a whole separate thing on fasting, because now after I have completed a 21-day water fast, I am so fascinated by the whole process. And there's something to be said about how to do it properly, how to do a proper fast, how to do a proper detox, how to do a proper cleanse. And this is one of the things that I want to talk, me and Patty want to talk to you about today, is how to do it properly, because there's so much information out there. There's so much confusing information out there, and not just from medical establishment. I mean, that's a whole mess on its own, but even within the health movement and the health food movement. And even Patty, you mentioned the word healthy diet. And I want to go into that, because I feel it has been, the term healthy diet has been diluted and distorted, very much so. So I have walked the path of natural hygiene, and I would love for us to dive more into that and your experience with that, and actually simplify and bring more clarity to what is a healthy diet is. Because a lot of people, I see it all around me, and I know, Patty, you see it as well. People think that if they eat vegan, it's healthy. Like, vegan now has become a trend. And actually I get to speak and have clients that, oh, I'm vegan, my diet is healthy, but there's like this laundry list of symptoms. I'm like, listen, the body doesn't lie. So let's dissect that. What is a healthy diet really is, and in the simplest way of what healthy is.
Well, in my opinion, it's unaltered food that grows in rich, loving soil. And that's really as simplistic as it can be, and that's for diet alone. I mean, if we're talking natural hygiene, as you know, it's more of a lifestyle, because it does incorporate, sun exposure, relationships, sleep, water. But for diet, you need a healthy soil, no, chemical sprays, because things like glyphosate and other, things that destroy nature, they're destroying us. They're killing us as well. And, that's where I think a lot of, when I work with vegans, because I do natural health consultations on the side outside of teaching, I do, like yourself, we work with vegans that are struggling, and just being a vegan alone, as good as a first step forward that is, because your heart is in the right place, you really have to, look at exactly what you're eating. And if it has an ingredient label, it's probably not healthy. If it's got a list of chemicals, it's not healthy. And then you also have to look at your produce, because if they're spraying it, the glyphosate is destroying so much of our biosphere. And, it's just causing leaky gut syndrome and killing the microbiome. There's so much with that. So, it's just coming back to nature, really. And the best thing to do, and maybe this is something we're going to be needing to do pretty soon. People should start growing their own food and learn how to get into contact with the earth, and learn how to nourish the soil, learn how to compost, and add those beneficial microorganisms to your soil, because that food that grows from that soil becomes your microbiome, and it creates health in your own GI tract, because those little gut bacteria, they're communicating with you all of the time. And now more science is out there about the gut-brain connection and all of our emotions being connected to that. So, that's really what I see diet as, just pure food grown in loving soil with loving hands and prepared in a loving way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you made that distinction between healthy diet and healthy lifestyle. That health is, and I'm a big proponent of that. Health is not just the food that we eat; it's one piece of the puzzle, and
Right.
it goes hand in hand with so many other components. So when it comes to healing, regardless of what the condition is, we got to look at all the pieces of the puzzle. and the physical body is one thing, but then we have the emotional, we have the mental, we have the lifestyle, as we said, and they're all connected. Because just like you said, when the gut is destroyed, when there's a lot of chemicals present, it's going to affect the mind, it's going to affect the emotions. And that's why during a fast, the mental part is like the hardest part. It's not even the physical. It's
That's
not even
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's not even the physical, but I know in my process, in my journey, is that when something physical is going on, immediately the mind and the emotions were affected as well. And I could make that connection. Yeah. So for you, Patty, I'm just curious also to know, in terms of like, have you done, so after you met Dr. Morse, did you, so you did the water fast before you met Dr. Morse, right?
Yeah, that was 1998, I believe.
Okay. And so after you met Dr. Morse, did you go straight into all fruit diet? What's your experience with the fruit? And what I'm curious also, if you had any health conditions that were persistent prior, before the water fast, and then prior to meeting Dr. Morse, and if you could share a little bit about that.
Well, I guess when I met Dr. Morris, I want to say that it was like 2011. I mean, I worked with him in 2016 and 2017, but I met him via a phone consultation. I think it was 2011. And at that time, I had just completed, because that's kind of how I came across his YouTube channel, because I was really into the Doug Graham and Freely the Banana Girl. I was kind of following those YouTube channels and learning a lot about living a healthy life with kind of a vegan aspect to it, not the junk food vegan, but really lots of fruits and vegetables. And, the 80-10-10 diet, that's another one I was kind of following. And I did do, prior to meeting Dr. Morris, I think 6 months high fruit raw diet. It was mostly fruit. Where I ran into trouble was when it became winter and I was getting really cold, because at that time I was living in the middle of Illinois and they get pretty harsh winters. And I remember though that I think it was like 3 months into mostly fruit, I felt amazing. I mean, I really felt absolutely powerful. I just had energy that was pure and clean, and it was fueling me. I mean, I remember not being able to kind of sit still. I had to get up and move. So many of us were so used to living in, 40 hours a week in a cubicle where we're just kind of contained. But when you have pure energy and it's fueling your body, you have to embrace and get out in nature and move your body around. So that was a fabulous feeling. And, as soon as I got back on cooked foods, it did go away. And unfortunately, I've not given myself that luxury of that extended amount of time on fruit. I've done like 30 days here and there on fruit, but nothing 6 months in length. As far as like meeting Dr. Morris and, health conditions, I did have, ever since I was a child, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and, I've been able to reduce my medication quite a bit. I'm still taking, a daily medication for that, but I've not completely gotten off of it, 100%. And there is probably some fear in that. And, personally, we all work with where we are, but that is one of my goals, is to completely be done with that. And, I was diagnosed with that when I was 11 years old. So, but yes, I have reduced my dosage, and, considering that I'm at a dosage where I was when I was a kid, usually as you get older and your body is getting bigger, you're receiving a higher dosage of the medication, but at least I'm not there. So it's not that it's something that I need a lot of. But I am, wanting to explore getting off of it completely. And then working with Dr. Morse, though, I did learn a lot about various ways to support my thyroid gland. And I even got into like the spiritual aspects. That's one thing that I do find fascinating about healing, because it's not all physical, right? What is it about my fifth chakra that I developed at the age of 10 or 11 this little gland, the thyroid gland, not being able to work. And I kind of now know what that is. And it's, you know, I mentioned when I was sharing my story that I wanted to be the good girl. I wanted to make my mom and dad proud of me. And that's always been something that I've had an issue with, is speaking my truth. It's so much easier for me to do what others want me to do. So I kind of I've got this people pleaser issue that I need to completely let go of. And I see it, you know, even with my dogs, I want to please them and I'll put their needs in front of mine. So, you know, those emotional issues, I think they do express themselves as physical ailments. And, you know, and it's all a physical, spiritual, emotional journey that we're walking on this planet. And, you know, it's not just eating fruit will fix everything. We still have to get into the mental aspect, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect of healing. It's all connected.
Yeah,
Which is
absolutely.
another reason why I really like Dr. Morris. Dr. Morris really gets that.
Right. And the reason why you sometimes see, and I know I've had clients that, man, months and months and months of deep detoxification, it's still just kind of a standstill. And then some people within 2 months gone, you know, complete. And so you gotta, and he talks about that as well, right? The karma and the emotional components and whatever energetically is going on. So yeah, that's what holistic health is all about. And that's what another piece that homeopathic medicine and the medical establishment completely disregards. It's all like, it's like a meat factory. You know, people are like lining up and you get a number and you just another number on the line, and it's just complete disregarding of the emotional, the spiritual components. That's definitely a part of it. What I want to dive into though, because I know you're such a fruit lover yourself, and although, like you said, yeah, there's many pieces to the puzzle, one of the pieces that I would like to focus on here today is the fruit, because I feel that there's so much misinformation again and the misconception when it comes to fruit, and the fear of sugar, and 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 the fact that, and I've got that's like a side note, but yeah, the quality of fruit that we get in most places is not as it used to be. So there's something to be said about that. However, that's something that we can change as well. Just like we had our conversation a few weeks ago, is if there's demand, if people actually start valuing fruit and have that in demand, then big companies, or just the demand, will start create more resources and more sources of production, because people are wanting that more, because they're valuing it more. This is the foundation of my entire message when it comes to everything. The power is with us, people. The power is with us. As long as you keep feeding McDonald's is going to be an establishment. But if people start demanding, no, we want more fruit and organic salads, McDonald's are going to change their menu, because they are providing to the customers. Who are the customers, right? So when you go into a store and you see, like, you know, there's a little produce section, and then the entire store is nothing but packaged stuff. Why is that? Because people buy more of the package rather than the produce. But if we start tipping the scales and people go into a store and actually we want organic fruits because we value and we understand how amazing it is, then the store will have no other choice but, hey, we got to expand the produce section and actually get some high quality produce and start reducing the packaging. So this is all a chain, and who is in the base of the chain is the people. And we have
powerful.
we have the power, period, with our choices.
Yes.
Okay, so let's debunk some of the myths around fruit. And I would love for you, Patty, to get a little bit deeper into, for example, when some people they come to me and like, I can't eat fruit. The sugar is too much, and they blame the fruit, right? And we know that it's really not the fruit, it's the adrenals. And so I would love for you to just, I love how you explain it, you know, in the scientific, when it comes to the body and how it works. What is the reason that people at the beginning, when they come from like a standard diet, or even if it's a vegan healthy diet, and they start having a lot of issues once they start eating fruit, and then they dump the fruit and they go back? So I would love for you to go into that and explain a little bit more why people have issues with fruit, um, and why fruit are so amazing.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when people do complain about like their blood sugar levels going too high, or, you know, that it's I don't know, they always blame the fruit. You are correct. And fruit really does not raise blood glucose levels as high as, you know, candy or soda or all of the other junk food that people eat on a regular basis. You know, fruit comes in a perfect package with fiber that slowly releases that glucose or fructose or sucrose, depending on what type of sugar that fruit contains, because every fruit is a little bit different. But it's slowly releasing it into the blood, so you don't get a spike. You know, like you can eat an orange and you'll get a slow rise in the simple sugars that will be entering your blood. With other, you know, more processed foods like the flours, the cakes, the candies, starch that comes from like just simple white bread, that breaks down into so many simple sugars. It just, you get a much higher increase in your blood glucose levels. So I think if anything, what the fruit is doing to make people feel uncomfortable is it's truly detoxification, and it's creating a kind of an uneasiness within their body as their body acclimates. I mean, I've worked with people where, you know, they rarely ever eat any fruit, and here I'm asking them to, you know, eat mono meals of fruit for a week or so, and just kind of, and then maybe for dinner you can have a big green salad, but make lunch and make your breakfast mono meal. And they will complain about that. And it's not the fruit's fault. It's that it is cleansing your body. You're purging your cells with the bad stuff out, pulling that out so that it can make room for the healthy nutrition that is about to enter those cells. And that's really what is taking place with the detoxification. Your cells are so wise that they will remove, even from, you know, the outside of the cellular space and those interstitial spaces that are connected to our lymphatic system. They know that they need to get rid of stuff when good things are coming in. And the fruit will do that, and it will make you feel uneasy because all of the junk coming in over many, many years is all going to come out at once. So you're getting kind of this mass release of a lot of accumulated congestion in your interstitial spaces. And it starts flooding the kidneys, and the kidneys might feel a little overwhelmed. So you're going to get some lower back pain, very common during any type of cleanse. You might feel aches and pains as certain areas that have held on to that for so long begin to release. And, you know, some of that might be a little bit inflammatory to many tissues in that area. So you might get aches and pains. You might feel upset in your stomach. But it's not the fruit. The fruit is loving you. The fruit is the most beautiful gift from the tree. There's nothing harmed when the fruit is donating itself to you to nourish your body. We just have to kind of go with it. And, you know, we're so conditioned to fear pain and to fear discomfort. It's killing us as a species. This lifestyle of comfort is killing us. We have to be brave enough to push through the discomfort and allow our body to get to a place of homeostasis and true health.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. What's your favorite fruit?
Oh my goodness. Well, the last couple of weeks I've been really eating a lot of pomegranates. I just love pomegranates.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, my staple is the banana because it's just so easy to come by. And so sometimes that's all I have, but I love blackberries. So I don't know if I can pick one. I guess if I had to pick one favorite fruit, it would have to be the mango. The
Oh,
mango
yes.
is just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. That's just a side note. Yeah. You gotta come to the tropics, straight to Hawaii if you want mangoes.
I know.
Oh
I
my
miss
God.
living in Florida. I did get some good mango and jackfruit and all of those good things. But yeah,
Yeah.
Midwest doesn't have a lot to offer.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was just a side note. I was curious, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And this is something that I come across so often, and it's a bit of a frustration. I know for me and many other detox specialists that we people have been conditioned so heavily when it comes to fruit and fearing fruit, and again, not understanding, like you said, discomfort. People feel discomfort and they either blame it on the fruit, or they just don't have enough motivation or the grit to just go through it and go to the other and see what's on the other side of the discomfort. And like Patty said, the fruit is actually loving you, and it's going to expose. So when you go into detox, in whatever degree, because there are different degrees to the kind of detox that you can choose to embark on. However, though, it's essential in order to attain true health and vitality is to actually go into a period of deep detoxification. And there's nothing better, or there's not a better tool to do that, or actually the only tool are the fruits and the herbs to support the detoxification process. And in our society, people have been conditioned to just manage symptoms, which
Mm-hmm.
we see just as much in the health movement, in very alternative um, approaches and fad diets, that it's really just a band-aid on an open wound that at some point going to start bleeding again. And when you choose to really focus on what's true and go back to nature, nature is very simplistic. And that's where we go back to the hygienic lifestyle, is fasting to heal,
Mm-hmm.
fasting and simple food, period. Like it's that simple. And the humans have complicated and continue to complicate everything to such a degree that it has created an absolute mess. And although we are complex creatures and this life is complex, healing and attaining health and maintaining health is very simple. And going back to nature is always the answer.
Yes.
Always the answer. So I want to say also with the fruit, when people have issues, and because this is, I would say, one of the number one factors that we see in our society today is adrenal weakness. This is something that I'm now really focusing on when I see after the fast, and my adrenals are still struggling. And there's a reason for that. So there's the food part, but it's also the stress. And we've all been born to parents that they had adrenal weaknesses, and so we inherited that. And of course, we can go so deep into that. But one of the things to to take from this conversation is that go into your body and don't blame any external um, factors. The fruit do love you, and they're going to expose the weaknesses, and they're very astringent, so they're going to pull on the acidity in the body. And if there's some issues with the fruit, that's actually when waking up, understanding the truth, and going back to, okay, what's going on with my glands, what's going on with my digestive system. And that's when a good detox comes handy to start strengthening those weaknesses, and then you go from there. So that was just a very big long tangent on what you.
Well, it's always it's a wonderful reminder of how simplicity is the answer. But yes, the fruit is just, it's the most loving healer. I mean, there's a reason why humans have a sweet tooth, and why we have color vision. We can see when the fruit is at its ripest state. I mean, biologically, we are frugivores, and so it's in our genetic code you know, to help us be drawn to this very healing food that nourishes us and loves us. So I love that explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like a monkey. Like I spot fruit. Like I just see it. It's in my nature, and I've always loved fruit. Um, there's a question here, Simone, how long do you fruit fast for? So Simone, it just depends. When it comes to those things, I never give a general statement because every person is different and every situation is different. The lifestyle is different. The kind of fruit that is available to you is different. Like if you're in the tropics, it's a complete different story than if you're in the Midwest or anywhere that actually doesn't get a quality fruit. But to answer your question, and how long do you fruit fast for as long as you can. That's basically the answer, because your body is going to tell you when you go on all fruit. And there's an art to that as well, because there's something to be said about the combining. Even with fruit, you want to keep it as simple as possible. And Patty mentioned this earlier about the mono meals. That's the ideal way to consume fruit. So you just eat one fruit at a time. And if you do mix, let's say 2 different types of fruit, there's a way to do that, and knowing which fruits are the sweet ones, which one are the sab acid, and which ones are the acids, and what goes with what. So there's a way to do that. That's why I'm not a big fan of like black and white. But yeah, when it comes to fruit fasting, you go as long as you can, because the fruit are going to bring things up physically, emotionally, mentally. And then at some point you may feel like, okay, I can use a salad to slow things down. But if you do have any, let's say, health conditions that you would like to take care of, then you just go to the fruit and you don't look back, and you go until your body is top shape.
It's amazing how it makes you feel. I mean, if you give yourself that chance, at first it is a struggle, but you break through that wall, and it's like, oh, the energy, the electricity.
Yeah, and it's really essential to get good quality fruit. That's something that saddens me, and at the same time it gives me motivation to again do this more, because it's about the demand, and for people to start supporting farms and farmers, and shop less at a supermarket and buy the packaged stuff, but go to the farmers market and actually support your local farmers that grow the fruit. Because when we give the money to those establishments, then they can invest back in their farms and regenerative farming. I mean, this is such a huge topic, and
For sure.
a large conversation, but we start one person at a time with understanding the value, and start creating more demand. So we'll start seeing more production, and the right production of fruit, because the mono agriculture is not something.
It's horrific.
It's
It's
horrific.
destroying our
Exactly.
planet.
Yeah. But I would say no fruit, simplicity is such a key. That is such key to simplify your life, and also simplify your food. Because, and I would love to hear your insights on this, Patty, just what it does to our mental and emotional state when the body is either really acidic, or there's a lot of fermentation happening in the gut. And again, even if you have a healthy diet, but the kind of complications that we see in foods, and the way it affects our mental and emotional state, and then the state of the world that we are seeing, that is merely a very acidic state of mind.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you said, monoculture farming, that, and then when we add to that the fact that what they spray on the crops, and, they now can spray these weed killers on all of the produce because they're all genetically modified. So, it really, I mean, you can be vegan and eat a fruit and vegetable diet, but if you're getting all of that it's almost as bad as eating junk food, honestly. So we have to vote with our dollar. We have to simplify. And I really think, I mean, I need this message for myself as much as I am sharing it with everyone. I'm talking to myself here. I just feel drawn to getting back to simplicity, like you said. You know, one of the things I want to do, you know, as I build my own website and I, you know, try to build up my educational platform and my detoxification consultation platform, is I want to move somewhere, maybe Hawaii, who knows, that seems like it would be a good place to go, but have my own farm and just, you know, every day tend to my garden and put my hands in the soil and nourish these beautiful plants, as I know that they're going to be nourishing myself and my animals. And, you know, my dogs eat, you know, today I was cooking them sweet potatoes that I had grown in my backyard. So there's just something about that connection with the food that when we grow it, we know we're not spraying it. We know we're not putting chemicals on it, and we're infusing it with love. I almost feel that's the most beautiful thing that we could eat. Something that we were taking part with Mother Earth to bring forth as a source of nourishment for ourselves, for our family, for our friends, and then creating networks where, you know, the farmers market could just be what our community does, because we're going to need that. We really are. I mean, this lockdown has, if it's taught us anything, in the United States, our supply chains are vulnerable. And, something could wipe out a whole monoculture and then there's nothing on the shelves. I mean, we've become so accustomed to just walking into a grocery store and there'd be food for us to buy. That might not always be there for us. And so that's why this message is so important. And that's why learning how to embrace simplicity and learning to connect to your food, and then learning to be okay with the food healing you, because that's what fruit wants to do anyway. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. And this is actually, this is my vision, and that is slowly but surely coming to fruition, is to have a piece of land, and eventually have that to be a model and have different hubs around the world. But start with a piece of land where we plant so many fruit trees, because here's the thing with fruit trees too, as opposed to a garden, and it's not either or, it's both. But fruit trees, you plant them once and they're going to produce for years and years and years and years and years. Just one other reason why fruit trees and fruit are the perfect food for humans, because it's just abundant. And when the tree goes off, I guess, especially here in the tropics, which are such a supportive place for humans to live, when something is in season, for example, mangoes, the season just ended, and it's mind-blowing. Just when they come in so much abundance that can feed an entire village. So it's not a coincidence that it's like that, because the fruit, and actually with fruit trees, the more you pick the fruit when it's ripe from the tree, the happier the tree is, the more it will produce and the healthier it is. Like it's such a beautiful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why fruits are so healing. It's not just that chemically speaking, they are built in a perfect way to nourish the human organism, but like Patty said, and there's so much that goes into it, and it's the energy, and it's the consciousness, and it's the life force, and it's the electrical energy that fruit have, that when you ingest that, you ingest that level of consciousness, you ingest that electricity, you ingest that life force, and that starts to create miracles in the body, in the mind, and in your energy fields. And I can sit here and talk about this for days, but it's through experience. It's only
Right.
through one's own experience that, it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to my vision,
Yeah.
to just plant a ton of fruit trees and have that be a place and a village and a hub for people to come and see how to live in harmony with nature and educate more about fruit and about regenerative agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
and how to live in harmony with the natural world, which is the name of your website, Natural Law Health, right?
Yes, Natural Law Health is the name of my website.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Because it is the natural laws, and we've been conditioned to follow man-made laws that don't make any sense
Yeah,
whatsoever. So it is
not
really
right.
our time to connect back to those natural laws that have been here way before we have.
Mhm. That is true. Yes, that natural law is just that law. It's like gravity, right? We know that if we step off a tall building, we're going to go down. That no matter where you are on the planet, that will happen. Man's law changes. You cross an imaginary line called a boundary. On this side of the line, a certain plant is illegal. On the other side of the line, the plant is not illegal. Man's law does not make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the rules of nature are always there to guide us. So if we just, open our eyes to what those laws of nature are and live according to those laws, which really a lot of them foundationally when it comes to health are in natural hygiene, it will nourish us and help us heal almost anything.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, and the fact that so much of what we see as diseases, which actually don't exist,
Right.
this is something I would love actually to bring up, is diseases don't exist, people. They don't. These are
Yeah.
man-made names and labels to basically a state of acidosis or stagnation. It's a symptom, any disease whatsoever, from the little one to the big one of the C word. Those are all, they don't exist. And what I mean by that, those are all labels that medical establishment put on a certain state of the body, which the core cause of that is always the same.
Right.
Eh,
Yes, that is true.
Um, and so that is a man-made man-made idea that we've been conditioned to follow. This
Yes.
disease, this disease. Yeah, and I would love for you to say more about that,
Well,
Patty.
yeah, you're right. Every disease is a collection of symptoms that, when you're in medical school, you learn that this list of symptoms is named this. That way you can put it on your chart so that your patient can have their insurance cover your visit. It all comes back to money. We need money to cover our visits from these expensive doctors. And then that way they know what drug to pick, because all the pharmaceutical industry is very much tied into this collective of symptoms, because they've got a drug to suppress every single one of those symptoms, right? And then, the drugs create side effects, which create more symptoms, which really keeps this, machine going. The medical pharmaceutical industry. I mean, they're kind of, on a really good, they've got a good thing going because they're making a lot of money. I mean, I would even go as far as there are no pathogens. I think the word pathogen is also a false saying. I mean, these bacteria and these viruses that are in nature, they're not here to harm us. Even the one that's out there right now, I don't even want to say the name, but that little virus is just an expression of genetic information that is really coming from a very sick and angry planet that's saying we've had enough. I just made a video before you and I connected today for this video about quote unquote junk DNA and its expression of what are called microRNAs, which then lead to exosomes, which then can be classified as a type of virus. And these are coming, I mean, there's a lot you can go into about the science of this, but when we look at what's going on in our planet and all of the abuse that, I say humans, but in all honesty, there are certain collections of humans that are more responsible for this, and they're programming us. And, part of that programming is, honor the man in the white coat, or honor the woman in the white coat because she's the doctor or he's the doctor. You have to follow their orders. There's so many limitations with the doctor's license. And as you and I were chatting about, they've even kind of spilled over into the naturopathic doctors and how they're limited as well with what they can do as far as helping people heal. It's really a very, once you've seen it and you know how this system works, if it doesn't anger you, then you're part of it. Really, that's what it comes down to. Then you're somehow benefiting from this system and keeping it in place. Whether you're a pharmacist and you're making a lot of money selling drugs, or you're a medical doctor and you're making a lot of money pushing drugs. I mean, it's all benefiting the pharmaceutical industry in the name of quote unquote health. And really it's just disease maintenance and, symptom suppression.
Yeah, right. Symptom management. And that's the sad, I won't say sad, but yeah, on some levels, the sad part is I know a lot of people, and especially people that are part of this group, are not so plugged into the white coat medical establishment. Maybe some of you still are, and this, I honor, all walks of life. But this is, again, an eye-opening conversation, and for you to make your own discernment and your own choice. However, what's sad for me to watch, and just like we were speaking earlier about, Patty, is that all that misconception, misinformation has spilled over to the naturopathic world. And that I know that I speak to, because most of my friends in the circles and people that I'm connected with are people that, yeah, have plugged themselves out of the, I don't go to a doctor, but I have my functional medicine doctor, or I have a naturopath, or whatever it may be, Eastern philosophy practitioner. And they all have lots of wisdom to share, for sure. However, even within those groups and within those practitioners, I still see a severe level of, I'm going to say ignorance, not as an insult. Ignorance is just not knowing and not understanding the way the body functions and the simplicity of healing. Really, all we need to do to heal and to strengthen and to get back to vitality is to get out of the way. And how do you get out of the way? You detox, you fast, and then you let the body heal. Nothing you ingest, not even fruit, is going to heal you. The body is going to heal itself. You just need to, or you get to create the environment, the terrain in your body to heal itself. So the fruit helps to create that terrain. So that's what I feel I'm here to offer, is to debunk so many of the myths, even within the health, the alternative world, and that people, again, just understand the fundamental simplicity of nature and our bodies, and how simple it is. So there's so many fad diets out there, and they might work for a month or two, maybe even a year or two, but then at some point it's just going to bite you in the ass again.
Yeah.
And it does break my heart to speak with so many people, and especially people in their 20s, people in their 30s. It's like, that's like your prime. You need to be like in your most exuberant vitality, dealing with such a long list of symptoms that are very, very easy to address.
Even children.
Oh my God.
So many children are coming down with chronic diseases, and it's so sad. And the parents are, I mean, humans, our species, we're programmable. We are a programmable species. So we need to make sure that we are putting a good program into our brain, and that we're exposing ourselves to truth, to nature. And that's the program that we're supposed to align with. But there is a system that is programming the youth. I mean, that's why, our society today has created this, system where, now, because of all of the expenses just to live on this planet, both parents need to work. So they steal your children at younger and younger ages, and they begin the indoctrination progress, when they're 3 or 4 years of old. And, they pledge allegiance every morning. They, have a routine. They're told that the doctor is the good person, that the politician is the good person. I mean, there are so many things that we have been indoctrinated to believe since we were so young. And a lot of this is the cause of why we're in a place right now where we're destroying nature in the name of health and in the name of who knows. I mean, I don't understand why we're destroying nature all around us. Why is it that we're burning down, millions and millions of miles of rainforests in South America? I mean, it's just heartbreaking. And the plastics in the ocean and all of this stuff. Like, why can't we just wake up and really see the damage that's taking place all around us? Because that's really what this current pandemic is all about. It's if there is a virus, it's an exosome that is here to tell us to wake up. And we need to take the upgrade and get out of the programmed, mindset that we're in. Sorry, I kind of went on a little tangent there, but
No,
you're
I
right.
got
It's quite, we need to wake up. We really need to.
Yeah. No, Patty, I feel your passion and your fire, and I appreciate that. And Caitlin is saying, and it's true, Caitlin, money. That's all. And yeah, it's very true. And again, it's not the money. It's not the money's fault. Money is not the root of all evil. It's what people want to do with it that is the root of all
Right.
evil. So, and that's a good point. That again, we vote with our money, like you said, and it's us demanding that more, and it needs to be more of us. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation, why we'll continue to have these conversations, because you guys, I'll be stoked, to just sit in this cottage where I am right now in Hawaii and enjoy my fruit, but I just can't, because I know what's happening on the planet. And I know that we need more of us. We need more of us to stand up and say no, and to come out of our own bubbles too. And what I mean by bubbles is we have our own little network, just like Patty and I are plugged into Dr. Morse practitioners, and everybody's on the same page to some degree. And I know a lot of my my peeps are same thing, in like those conscious communities, and we all are kind of on the same page. However, though, number one, we got to come more together, like the hive mind in a healthy way, and we got to start speaking this message more loud, and more clear outside of our own little bubbles and our own little communities. And I know, Patty, for you, that's what you're stepping more into, and having that courage and releasing your truth and your voice, which I'm sure is going to affect the thyroid on some degree. Yeah, and thank you, Jesse, Caitlin. They're tuning in, and my request is for you to take this and have these conversations with your friends and your people, and bring more awareness. And more than anything else, because I'm a firm believer in be the change you wish to see. So if one thing you can take from this conversation today is like, go and have more fruit, start understanding the miracle of fruits, and understanding how to eat it properly, and support your farms and your farmers, and grow your own food if that's accessible and available. So it's those steps that we take in our own personal lives that make a huge difference. And it's the power of us coming together and start creating systems that are new,
Right.
for other people to plug into. Yeah. So Patty, anything else you'd like to add or say to that? And those that are here live, also, if you have any questions, you can type it in the comments now, and I'll convey your question out loud. But you go ahead, Patty. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if somebody had a question. Well, yeah, I think that, our consciousness is awakening, and I think humanity is starting to at least recognize that something is very wrong with where we are in our society or on our planet right now. So, it's not just, I guess to me, it's not just we need to get the message of eating fruit is important for our own personal health. And that is true. I mean, each one of us can heal individually, but we really need to be at a place where we need to heal, the biosphere, because it is in a very dark place. And there are, what seems to me, I like to call them the powers that should not be, manipulating the pieces here. And we are more powerful than them. And yes, some of them are very money motivated. And if we start voting with our dollars, we can influence that. So that's a great place to start. But a lot of it does come just to standing up for what is right and seeing truth. And, always aligning with freedom. Because if we don't have the freedom to choose fruit as an option, then where are we going to be? Because this control system is getting more and more oppressive in its nature, and they're starting to take more and more freedoms away from all of us. So standing up, speaking the truth. I mean, this is something, again, with the fifth chakra that I'm working on myself, but not holding back. I mean, for the longest time, I was afraid of, how if I was caught on a video denouncing something that, the medical field says is the way it is, like, all vaccines are safe. I've heard that so many times. And yet I know what vaccinations do. What if somebody in the college I work for, what if they see that? And what if I get fired? And we're now at a place where we can't have the what ifs and feel like, we have to keep ourselves comfortable. We have to speak out. We have to do what's right. And a lot of it does come just aligning with nature, like you said, because when you stand up for nature, you're standing up for all of nature, which connects all of us. I mean, the fabric that connects all humanity is the beauty of nature and the beauty of each other and all life.
I love that. I love that you said that. And it's so true. And I've been feeling this fire under my ass, especially in the last few days. Just like we got to do something. There's a sense in me that, again, great, like doing the videos, having the interviews and the conversations. It's one way, so it's not either or. And like Patty, like you said, it's becoming more and more oppressive, and the freedom that is being taken away. Like, of course, on a spiritual level, like nothing can touch us, and on a physical level, even the fact that some countries have closed their borders, and I can go to the store without a mask on. Like, that's just not okay. So in my vision, what I'm seeing is a revolution and rebel. Like there's this rebellious part of me that is coming out that like want to rally the troops, and like and I'm not like a social activist. Like that's not who I am. I'm not one to go on the streets and demonstrate. It's just not my nature. And at the same time, I feel that some radical actions are an absolute necessity, that we got to put our foot down as people and say no to that. Like the closing of borders, the restrictions on our daily lives, and like it's just, this is not okay. But then I see the world just keeps on going, like business as usual, only with a mask on. It's an absolute insanity.
Window the other day, and I saw the 3 beautiful little kids across the street, all with masks on, playing in their front yard. I mean, what are we doing? We're taking away our smiles.
Right.
I don't even want to go to the store. I don't, because I connect with people. I love seeing people smile at me, and I love sharing my smile with others. Why is that being taken from us? It's a sign they're trying to, again, oppress us, and then doing this to newborn babies, and they can't see their mother. I mean, babies, they communicate with facial expression. If you're covering up everything below the nose, you're removing a very valuable way for that young little infant to connect with the people that are important to them in their little lives. It's just, I mean, we have to say no to this nonsense. And, you know, it's going to, you know, we could go on a whole different tangent here, which I won't, but,
Yeah.
you know, the power that we can express as a collective of humans that are awakening to this is something we need to express, and we need to get that message out there. And it's just the most powerful word in the world is no. It's no, like, no, I'm not going to stand for this. And yes, I know what is true. So no, we have to know and use that with power.
Yeah. Wow, exactly. I love that. No. And Jessie is saying, I'm feeling the same. And she is sharing here that she just got told at Whole Foods that she needs to make sure to wash her reusable bags between stores so that I don't bring germs in with me. It took everything I had to hold my tongue. So perhaps, Jessie, maybe we're not going to hold our tongues. I had a similar experience, and like you said, Patty, I rarely go to the store because I just find my fruit, you know, on the side of the road or farmer's market or whatnot. But I do go to the store, you know, every 2 weeks or whatever, if there's some other things I'd like to get. And yesterday I went to the store, and there, you know, there's an actual guard at the front of the store, and this is Hawaii we talking about, but it's more of a city, and he put a thing of sanitizer on your hand, and I just like put the mask on with my nose out because I'm like, I want to breathe, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
takes his job very seriously, and he comes to me and is like, you got to have the mask on top of your nose. And I knew in that moment, and I'm sure Jessie, just like you said, it took everything you had to hold your tongue, is that in that moment I had a choice. Like, I could make a scene here in the store and politely leave, or not so politely leave and actually tell him, this is stupid, that and just call him out on his ignorance. Or I could just put the mask back on and, you know, continue shopping, which I did. And now reflecting back is like, huh, I would have, if I were to go back, I would have chosen option number one, to actually, I'll make a scene, I'm going to let him know what I think about all this, and then leave. And if it's okay, I'm not going to get my tomatoes, I'll survive.
Yes, no is the most powerful word. No, we're not going to take your new world order. No, I'm not going to harm myself so that you can keep your job. I mean, there is no, and the hand sanitizers and the chemicals that they're using to clean, that's harmful. Everything they're doing is harming us. Making children go to school, rebreathing their own air, creating a situation where they're developing hypercapnia and their blood is becoming acidic. I mean, there have been children that, you know, ask for permission to breathe. This is a God-given right, breathing. They're taking that from us. I mean, this should be infuriating. I mean, we talk about fruit nourishing us. Oxygen is what we really need. I mean, we burn the beautiful, simple sugars in fruit in the presence of oxygen. We need both. And they're covering that up. I mean, exhalation is a method of detoxification. We exhale toxins as much as we breathe in beauty and oxygen. So we have to stand up and say no to this madness. I mean, I'm not going to let them do this to my brothers and sisters on this planet. It was so funny. I was walking my dogs last week. I don't leave my house barely because I order from Imperfect Foods, and they bring ugly produce to my front door, the surplus from the stores. Because I don't like even seeing people with masks on. It's breaking my heart to see this, to see the people accepting these mandates that are so irrational. I almost think that they're laughing, seeing how much we can discredit our own, you know, logic, because there's no logic to this. It makes no sense. first of all, there's no scientific data that masks work. I mean, nothing out there that's saying that plus social distancing is stopping anything. There's no evidence of it. I mean, it's just pure insanity. But anyway, I was walking my dogs last week, and usually we walk earlier than the kids get on the school bus. But that one day, all of the kids were getting on the school bus, and my puppy is used to seeing the kids and she wants to play with them. And, in the past, she's kind of like let them pet her. But they all had masks on and it freaked her out. She's looking like, what the hell? And she started barking at them. And I'm like, honey, don't bark, because she was scaring them. But it was because what she picks up as communication, their smiling little joyful faces, that was covered. And this coming from a dog, it's just a pure sign that this is not right. We all need to be as brave as the little puppy and bark and say, no, take your mask off. It's really, I mean, that this is the biggest sign of a slap in the face to humanity that I've ever witnessed in my entire life. I cannot believe that people are falling for this. It really, it's bewildering.
Oh, I just got chills, Patty. I'm so with you. And I love what you said, that we can all learn from your dog and bark and just bark and say no. And I'm inspired by this to actually do that more. And and not be afraid. If I'll make a scene, I'll make a scene. I'm not one that is concerned about that whatsoever. And Jessie, this is in the group. She's asking if it's going to be shareable, because so many people that should be listening to this. So one thing, you can invite people to the group and share that with them in the group, because more conversations like this will be happening. And also this will be going on my YouTube as well. It's very soon. And I know Patty's YouTube and her website. And so it will be available in other channels. To answer your question. And just to close this, Patty, with this conversation, and how you said, I can't believe people are falling into it. It goes back to everything that we've been talking about all this time. That is because people don't know the truth. And so there's so much, it's easy to control minds that are invested in fear and ignorance, because people are afraid of a virus. And it's like, well, wait a second. If you actually knew how the immune system works, and when you have a healthy body, and let's say you caught the virus, well, you'll have some detoxification symptoms for 3-4 days, and then you're done. It's really, go ahead.
No, even the World Health Organization has said that this plandemic, which it is a plandemic, is no more dangerous than the typical flu. I mean, yes, some individuals have had severe symptoms. And I kind of think it has to do with more of pollution compared to anything else. I think maybe the virus is bringing in certain pollutants, which are creating a state of hypoxia in the body. But as far as contagious, no, it's not contagious. Kids aren't getting this. This is just, they're being irrational. Yeah. And we need to stand up,
Yeah. Well, and we can go into the fact that individuals that have perhaps died from, I can't even say from the virus, because it's not true. They died because their health was compromised anyway. They could have, the same people could have died from a flu. They could have died from anything. And nobody, all of a sudden, this one virus becomes this pandemic, but nobody talks about the fact that 70% or whatever it is, 60% of the United States population is overweight, and teenagers under the age of 20 are a bit obese. Nobody talks about diabetes, and just all of a sudden this one virus becomes a pandemic. And just there must be the voice of reason and truth that is a must for us as humanity and as a planet, if we were to move forward in a harmonious way. And
we need the truth.
There's so many rabbit holes that we can go
They're
with this. So we'll just put a stop on that conversation. But really, it ties into why being responsible for your own health and actually understanding what true health is, and not get confused and distracted but by so many fad diets and false information, is to actually plug back into nature. Just close all the books, close all the Google search, and just go back to nature. And it cannot be more simple than that. And it's basically just going back and connect more with the feminine principle of life, which is intuitive and wisdom and stillness and silence and nature. And it's not mind, logic, reading in books, and it's just not. It has gotten us to where we are today, and it's not pretty. So we can just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results, or we can just start doing different things and see different results. So that's where I stand with all of that. So to take that responsibility on your own health, to go back to nature, to go back to simplicity, and to do your own house cleaning. Get a good detox, get a good cleanse, get plugged into somebody that can guide you on that. I mean, Patty and I are just two people, and there are so many people out there like us that understand the mechanics of the body and the truth and how nature works. And if you need help, then there are places in which you can get the proper help, so you're not alone in that. And share this with people. Yeah, like Jesse said, there's so many people that should be listening to this video. Then please share it, invite them to groups like this, and have these conversations, and don't be afraid to say no. This is our birthright, to be free, period.
It is. Freedom comes first.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. So Patty, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and for sharing your heart, and for sharing your wisdom. You're just such a beautiful soul in so many ways. And I really appreciate knowing you. I appreciate you being here today and sharing this. And I definitely look forward to other ways in which we can co-create and shift some things on this planet.
Yeah, there's so much to discuss and to share, and hopefully to connect with others and spread the message of truth and freedom. Yeah, it all needs to not be occulted. Let it out.
Yeah, indeed. So, dear friends, if you're listening to this video later, if it's in this group or on YouTube or whatever channel that you're plugging into this, thank you for being here. Please share this message. If you have any questions later on, if it's here on the Facebook, then you can just put it in the comments. I'll come back and answer questions. If you're on the YouTube, you just leave your questions in the comments. And if you'd like to get in touch with Patty, if you'd like to see what she offers, Patty, what's your website again?
And I think the video kind of cut off. Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, yes, I know. It was frozen for a moment. How can people find you?
Oh, well, my website is called Natural Law Health, all one word, .com. And my YouTube channel is Natural Law Health. I think I have a Facebook group called Natural Law Health. Patty Lager, Pattylager is my Facebook name as well. So there's lots of different ways, and I can share all of my contact information with you if you want to include it. But yeah,
I can post that as well. And just get in touch with Patty if you'd like, and you know where to find me if it's in this group, or noalakshmi.com. And if you would like to be more guided on your detox and regenerate your body, then definitely get in touch with either myself or Patty, and let's do this. Yeah, that's what we came here to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Noa.
Thank
you
so
much.
Thank you. So we'll see you later, people. Have fun. Be well. Be healthy. Be free.
Be free.
Thank you for watching, my friend. If you enjoyed this conversation, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more goodies, and join the group True Health. The link is down below. If you'd like to upgrade your health and take it to the next level, then check out my website, noalakshmi.com, for more information on how you can be supported on your journey to true health. Sending you lots of love. I'll see you next time.